The history of dam-affected people in Africa has been one of silence and of broken promises. 50 years have passed, but the Tonga people of Zimbabwe and Zambia are still destitute from the displacement of 57,000 people caused by the construction of Greeff Dam. Nearly 2 decades on, people are still in temporary tin shacks after being flooded from their homes in the middle of the night by the building of Ananda Dam in South Africa. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, people were chased off the land to make way for the Inga dams, and again are facing displacement for Inga 3. At international meetings, the government says no one lives there. They lie. From Bujagali Dam in Uganda, where resettled people are still waiting 8 years later for the promises to be kept and for their livelihoods to be restored. From Mahale Dam, Lesotho, where many social issues remain unresolved, especially around inadequate and delayed compensation, and where corruption was prevalent in the building of the Lesotho Highlands Water Project dams. From Merowe Dam in Sudan, where peaceful people who protested their displacement into the desert were killed by government guns. From Kanji Dam, Nigeria, where the electricity promised to affected communities never arrived, where the houses that were built are falling apart, and where the resettled communities are fighting with the host communities who resent their intrusion. The stories are many and mostly sad or tragic. The Declaration of Broken Promises was developed by communities at the Southern African Hearings for Communities Affected by Large Dams in 1999, which had the World Commission on Dams as its audience and was ratified by the African Rivers Network at the African Ministerial Conference on Hydropower and Sustainable Development. The Declaration of Broken Promises. We lost our livelihoods and cannot regain them. Our land where we grew food was taken from us and not replaced. Our homes were demolished or drowned. Our livestock were taken from us. We lost control of our natural resources. Our wildlife have disappeared. Our cultural values, functions and roots have been destroyed. Our ancestors' graves have been buried under deep water, and the lives of some of our community and family members were violently taken from us. Large dams have caused a decrease in our standard of living, a decrease in our level of health, increased costs for resources we previously used freely, increases in HIV/AIDS, malaria, river blindness, bilharzia, etc., increase in crime and other urban problems, and conflicts in our communities where there once were none. In our experience, the history of large dams is one of broken promises. Large dams have been built with inadequate community participation, too few jobs going to affected people, inadequate education and information dissemination, and inadequate compensation and resettlement resources, especially land. We have been forced to move against our will, without knowing when or where we would be going, and without a way for our concerns or objections to be heard. We have not been treated with dignity, nor with respect for our customs, our ancestors, or our children. We have shouldered the burden of large dams, but we have enjoyed very few of the benefits. In short, large dams have been devastating to many of our communities. We are particularly concerned that much emphasis is being placed on building as many dams in Africa as possible in the shortest possible time, in order to meet the goals of NEPAD, and that this will be at the expense of the social justice, economic wisdom, and ecological sustainability of our continent. It seems that Africa is not learning from the experiences of the developed world, where dams are no longer being built and indeed are being decommissioned. We therefore make the following recommendations. That improved decision-making is of the utmost importance, and to this end we support the process advocated by the World Commission on Dams, and we support and call for national dialogues on the recommendations on the World Commission on Dams and local dialogues around specific projects. Dams must be seen as a means to development, not an end in themselves, and alternative development options should be given equal opportunity. Social and environmental issues should be given the same status as economic and technical issues. Communities affected by dams should be first in line to get the benefits and not last. For example, communities could become shareholders of dam projects, resulting in benefits accruing directly to communities through mechanisms such as trust funds. Affected communities must be allowed to participate as equal partners in the process, which includes the following. A transparent process is established to facilitate negotiated agreements on key aspects of projects, including compensation, resettlement, and benefit sharing. Ensure effective participation of communities in the decision-making and implementation process through empowering communities, including informing them of their rights. Increasing the involvement of local and international NGOs and the media. Facilitating the development of community committees. Strengthening other existing locally based structures. Providing capacity building and training programs, including those related to home construction. Making available to the public all project documents, including budgets, and providing funds for community and NGO participation. In order to ensure that projects are implemented properly and promises are not broken, government, project authorities and other project developers must take responsibility and enter into binding and enforceable contracts for compensation and resettlement programs. These contracts must be properly negotiated and agreed upon with the affected communities. There should be an independent dispute resolution process. Resettlement and compensation issues must be resolved to the satisfaction of communities before construction begins. As long as they continue to stand, there should be ongoing monitoring of dams for dam safety and impacts on community health and sanitation. On the broader level, communities request that international law, which protect the basic human rights, must be followed when building dams in Africa, especially those dealing with just compensation, resettlement and benefit sharing. We do not believe that inferior human rights standards should be accepted in Africa. Lastly, the issue of environmental sustainability is very important. Our leaders should ensure that we who derive our livelihood from the earth should be given a chance to live with dignity. It is our duty to leave our children and future generations a safe earth which sustains their lives like it has sustained our lives.